Hey guys, it's Lachey and welcome back to my channel, A Journey to Italy. So as I mentioned in the last video, we were going to go over what happened with my second son, Warrior. So in this video, I want to talk about my pregnancy with Warrior, how the COVID-19 vaccine came into play, and the outcome of that situation. But like I mentioned in the last video, I'm sure you've all seen the outcome. Because this situation is so difficult for me to get through alone, I do have my friend here with me, and we're gonna try to do this video as a conversation piece to make it easier for me to talk about the situation with you all and not get stuck or get in my head or get too emotional. So the person you'll hear in the background, that is a good friend of mine. She's been here with me through these journeys as well, and I'm super appreciative. So we're gonna start the video. She's gonna ask me some questions. We're gonna make conversation, and that's how you guys are gonna hear about Warrior, which is my son. So sit back, relax, grab some tea, because I sure do have mine, and we're gonna start this video. All right. So she is going to pretty much make this a conversation piece. She was not there during my situation with Warrior. So she was not really aware of my pregnancy with Warrior. She wasn't really aware of, what kind of went on. When we became friends, she kind of asked me a little bit. I told her a little bit, but I wasn't in a place in my life where I could really talk about it without getting too emotional. So in this video, she's just pretty much gonna talk to me as if I just told her, I had a son, but he's no longer with us today. So that's kind of how the conversation is gonna go. So you guys will have an idea of what happened. And once again, like I mentioned to you, this is a significant piece in my journey to Italy. So it's very important to me to share this piece with you all before I get to Italy. All right, Deja. So let's talk.
Well, I just want to start from the beginning. Like, obviously, you do, you get pregnant. And then you and the father. And then let's go from the beginning, because it didn't just start with you got knocked up.
Right. So you kind of want to know what happened. Okay. So, I met my son's father in California. There was a fast connection there. I lived in a different state and he lived in California. I was on vacation after I just graduated from college, and that connection, like I said, happened really fast. So when it was time for me to come back home, about a week later, he says, I'm moving to where you live, and I want to be with you. So he did. And he moved here, and maybe about 2 weeks later, I decided that, okay, give or take, between 2 to 4 weeks, I decided, I'm going to get off birth control. We've had a discussion. He didn't have any kids. I wanted another one. My son at the time was 5 years old. So I was like, yeah, I want another one. I never used to think I would have another child, but at that time I started really thinking, yeah, I want another child. So I made the decision to get off of birth control. And so I was pretty much like, whatever happens, happens, and I'm okay with it. And shortly after, a couple months in, I actually didn't know I was pregnant when I was pregnant. And I remember we went to the zoo and we went with my family and the kids. And I was extremely hungry. I ate about 3 pieces of pizza, a hot dog. I wanted another one. I was just really hungry. I was eating snacks and I was extremely tired. I'm walking through the zoo and I'm like, I gotta sit down. Now, me personally, I do not like nature at all. So I would never sit at the zoo or under the tree or anything like that. But that day I sat wherever I could sit because I was tired. So about 2 weeks after that, I found out I was pregnant. And the pregnancy was a little rough in the beginning. Super nauseous, right? Couldn't eat much. I was experiencing like dizzy spells, but nothing super harsh. These are things that you just kind of figure, okay, it comes with pregnancy, you know. So I didn't think much of anything. And I was just going on, you know, with my days. And of course, I got pregnant in 2021. So this is right, you know, smack dab in the middle of COVID-19. Before pregnancy, I did actually, in fact, have COVID-19 at one point. And thankfully, my son didn't get it, nor did the father of my child get it either. But I did get it. But thankfully, you know, I'm still here. I survived COVID-19. So I did get pregnant during COVID-19. So while I'm going through my pregnancy, of course, all of these tests are coming out now. They're saying, you know, you should get vaccinated to protect you against the virus. They're saying that it's not going to protect you from getting the virus, but it's going to keep you alive, pretty much, is what they were saying. So the vaccine comes out. I was completely against it, especially while being pregnant, especially how fast it came about. I wasn't okay with it. I was really contemplating, like, why would I get something that hasn't been out even a year? You know, how do they know all of the side effects? You know, how do they know what this vaccine could really do to a person? They really don't know. And then I was hearing about people who were vaccinated and they were still dying. They were still having severe complications. So I was really actually against the vaccine. But as time went on, my pregnancy went on, my parents and my siblings, they all got vaccinated because, you know, they had this thing when you're in public schools and things like that, it's safer to get vaccinated. So they got vaccinated and everybody was okay. So I said, okay, that was something I looked at. Everyone's doing good. So I went to my OB, and around 15, 16 weeks pregnant, I went to my OB and asked her, did she recommend me getting the vaccination? And she said she did. She told me that she had a lot of patients that didn't get the vaccine and they either passed away due to COVID-19 and they were pregnant. They were having preterm labor. They were having complications with their pregnancies. The babies weren't making it. You know, all these things. She told me that they had a whole hospital filled with pregnant women on life support, you know, because they contracted the virus and they didn't get vaccinated. So that, you know, was really marinating in my head, and I was like, wow, okay. Well, I definitely don't want that to happen, especially considering I have a child already, so maybe I should get vaccinated. Um, so I went home and talked to um, the father, and I explained to him, my thoughts and how I felt, and he, pretty much was like, it's whatever you want to do. And I said, okay. I said, well, would you get vaccinated? And he said, yeah, I'll get vaccinated. So he got vaccinated, and they came out with the vaccine for little kids. And so I got my son vaccinated, and both of them were just fine. So I said, okay, if they got vaccinated, then I can get vaccinated too. And for some reason, my gut was still telling me no. My gut was saying, don't do it. Don't get vaccinated. But I wasn't listening to it. So the morning of my scheduled vaccine, everything that you can imagine going wrong went wrong. I went to get food because I was hungry. I spilled barbecue sauce all over my pants in the car. My nerves was just really bad. I just was not okay. But I still went to get vaccinated. I went to go get the vaccine, and I kid you not, the moment that they put the needle in my arm and they injected the vaccine, I felt the vaccine go through my body with a vengeance. And I remember talking to my mom, telling her, I can feel it. And my mom was telling me, no, I think you're just overthinking it. You can't feel that. And I said, no, I feel it. Like, I literally felt it go through my body. And so the next day, I had a client. I do hair for a living, so I had a client to do her hair. And I remember doing her hair, and she had no idea that I was pregnant. This was a pregnancy that was kept kind of under wraps. It was supposed to have been a surprise. We had, things planned, a gender reveal, pregnancy announcement, all of these things. And so nobody knew that we were pregnant. And so I remember doing her hair and getting really dizzy, not feeling okay at all, just out of it. I finished her hair. I couldn't drive home, so I told the father to come pick me up. He came to pick me up, and I got home. And the following morning, my son had school, and so I took him to school. And when I took him to school, I just wasn't 100% okay. But I took him to school, and I talked with one of my good friends on the way back home. And when I got home, I just remember telling my friend, I have to use the restroom. I really have to use the restroom. And so I was like, girl, I'm gonna call you back. When I done, I gotta use the restroom. She said, okay, call me back. And I remember going to use the restroom. And I just remember, pushing, like trying to use the restroom. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I am really constipated. Like, why am I, okay. So I'm like trying, pushing. Finally, I use the restroom. Well, when I go to stand up, I feel all this pressure in the vaginal area. And I remember feeling, why is there so much pressure? And I remember feeling the baby's head. And the father worked overnight at the time, so he was sleeping. And I remember waking him up in a panic mode, Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, I can feel the baby's head. And he's like, what? You know, just out of sleep. Like, what are you talking about? What's going on? And I can feel the baby's head. Like, and so I'm like, you have to get up. Like, what do I do? I can feel the baby's head. And so I remember calling the OB. And it's something about these doctors, you know, you cannot put your life in doctors' hands. You just cannot. Because the doctors, they definitely failed me. But I remember calling the doctor, explaining to the doctor exactly what was going on. I felt the baby's head, all the pressure and everything. And you would think with the doctor's knowledge, they would say, you need to go to the ER or you need to come in right away. Well, the doctor told me, I can see you at 4 p.m. I have an opening. You know, they have that saying, you know, you hear a lot of adults say, I should have listened to my mom. You know, I wish I would have listened to my mother. I talked to my mom at the same time. My mom told me to go to the ER. But I didn't listen. I told my mom, no, well, the doctor said they'll see me later. But, you know, what happened, nobody would have ever expected to happen. So we're not really panicking. We're just like, okay, you know, we'll see the doctor at 4 o'clock. So my son gets out of school. The father has to go to work. He worked nights. So he's, you know, preparing to go to work. So he contacted his job, told him I'm going to be a little late. You know, she has a doctor's appointment. They're like, okay, that's fine. We get my son from school. We head to the doctor. The last words I told my son before getting out of the car was, I'll be right back. Just going to run in here to the doctor. He's going to take you to go grab you some lunch, and I'll be right out. Well, that wasn't the case. I went in to my doctor's appointment, and she, you know, checked around, and she didn't really notice anything. She didn't see anything. So she was actually gonna send me on my way. But based on what I told them that morning, she said, you know, she told me to go leave a urine sample. And then when I came back, I noticed she had the bed prepared again. And so when I walked in, I was just kind of like, And she said, actually, before you leave, I actually want to check your cervix based on, you know, everything that you told me. And that's when, you know, my world kind of turned upside down. She checked my cervix, and she said, that's what I was afraid of. And she pulled her glove out, and there was blood, and she told me that I was dilated. And so I'm looking at her, by me already having one child. When you're dilated, that means you're about to have another one. So I'm looking at her, wondering, what does that mean? And she told me I was very dilated, actually. And she said, I need you to go upstairs to labor and delivery, because we need to figure out how far dilated are you.
How long was your pregnancy? How many weeks were you?
At that time, I was only 20 weeks.
Okay.
So when I went upstairs, they did an ultrasound, and they said, you are fully dilated, fully effaced. There's no cervix. You're gonna have that baby today, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. I was sitting there in disbelief. I was sitting there wondering, trying to figure out in my mind, what are you guys talking about? Because I can't have this baby today. I'm only 20 weeks. So Is there we have to do something, you know, something has to be done. And I just remember so many nurses coming and apologizing, you know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And the look on their faces, and I'm still lost. I'm still looking at them like, well, what are you sorry for? You know, when I tell you nothing could prepare you for what was about to happen to me, nothing could prepare me for that, nothing. So I'm confused. What are you guys sorry for, you know? And I remember the same nurse that delivered my son, actually, she came and she said, you know, I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have this baby, and the baby won't be valuable. And I'm a pretty smart person, but when she said the word valuable, I was trying to think, what did that mean? And so I said, okay. And so she said, I'm so sorry. And they were sitting there, you know, trying to comfort me, but I didn't know what I was being comforted for. And I remember talking to my mom, because my mom lived in another state. So I remember talking with my mom, and I remember calling the father, letting him know, change of plans, I'm now admitted into the hospital, and they're telling me that I'm about to have this baby today. So can you call my son's godmother, because you have to be here. Something's going on. So he did all of that. My son went with his godmother. He came up there, and I just remember him coming up there, you know, looking at me like, what's going on? And just looking at him, by this being his first child, I didn't know what to say to him. So I remember asking the nurse, can you tell him what you just told me? And she said yes. And she went and sat with him and talked to him and told him what was going on. And honestly, at the moment, based on the look on his face, I don't think he fully comprehended what was going on as well. And so at this point, we're playing a waiting game. And I'm gonna tell you guys how this went. So I'll be right back, and we will continue this story.